So we're going to do a show called International Breakup, and I'm joined by the ghost of Bernard Manning. Hello.
Hello.
And I'm also joined by William of Orange. How you doing, buddy?
Hello. I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Right, so I've heard that during this international break period, Andy's going to start a gardening channel with J Wang. How does everyone think? What does everyone think of that? Is that a good hobby? Is that a good way to pass the time while we wait in this what feels like a black hole of football? You know, we've only just got football back after the summer of pointlessness. Is that a good hobby to take up for a week while we wait for football to actually come back?
Is September a good time for planting bulbs in the garden?
I have absolutely no idea.
You get all pitch marks on the phone.
I have no idea about gardening.
Are we on gardening leave? I mean, what's going on? I'll tell you one thing though, right? International football to me is a complete mystery because I'm Scottish and I absolutely don't care about international football. Willie, you're also Scottish and you also don't give a fuck about international football. Martin, you're English and you just think that you're going to win every World Cup until you get knocked out. So do you care about these international breaks? I do tell you one thing though. International breaks years ago, remember, the only people ever going on about international football years ago were Man United fans because it was all about how many Man United players were getting into the England squad to not go and win a World Cup or a European Championship. And now we've actually got some players in the England squad these days. We've got Kyle Walker, who's been dropped this weekend. I don't know why, for some reason. And John Stones, who's also getting in the England setup. Should we care more about it? Should we pay more attention to it? Or is it just one of those periods of time where you just hope that the players that play for your club don't get injured during the international break and you're actually quite pissed off that it's breaking up the football season? Do you think that it'd be a better time to let the players just have like a little weekend off? Do you think that the demanding schedule of English football is too much and they shouldn't do all the international nonsense? Because out of a survey of 3 people that we are, none of us give a toss about it. You know, what should happen to international breaks?
I think they're a waste of time in terms of to have an international break. 4 games into a season is complete piss take in terms of some of the players have just come back from an holiday. They've just started the season. They're just about to get their groove on. And all that gets stopped because they're all going to go and play friendlies, which, you know, to some players is still an honour and everything else. But it's, I don't know. I think international football is good if you are. I don't know. I'm trying to. They can edit this out, can't you?
I can edit it out, but I think I'll leave it in just because you can't actually think of a reason why international football is good for anything. Willie, can you think of any reason why international football is good for anything?
It's not good for anything because has there not been 2 competitions in the summer? Was it not African Cup of Nations in the summer and the South American one that was on?
Yeah, Copa America.
That was like Copa America. And then there's all these players come back from that and then they've maybe had 2 weeks break and then they're back into football again and now they've got to go away on international duty again. It's like, what's the point? Well, they keep saying too many games of football are getting played and we need to cut down league seasons and all this. But if you cut down the amount of internationals, then surely it reduces the amount of games are played. Because I can't remember, was it last year or something? 2 years ago, they were looking at changing structures of leagues and stuff like that. And then next year with this Qatar World Cup, everything's going to get moved around in the whole of European football, and it's just going to bugger up the seasons.
Well, one thing that I will say is that I know some European leagues and even international leagues have mid-season breaks, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're looking at the English league, then the mid-season break should naturally occur at Christmas time or in February or something like that. But I just think that if we actually did have a break from our domestic football, the international teams would just use it as an excuse to form some other fucking stupid league or have some other international friendlies during that period. Players don't get breaks anymore. I mean, what was it at the start of last season? We had players cutting their holidays short just so they could prove to Pep that they wanted to come and play.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what job we do in the real world, we all still need breaks at certain times during the year. Now, I know that there's always going to be this permanent brigade that don't actually understand the physical demand of football and think that footballers have got the easiest life ever. But international breaks and international football at this point, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever, it may have had some relevance when the domestic demands weren't so high, or when there were less matches being played on the whole. But in 2019, I think that the international calendar needs to just jog on. They should have set years every 2 or every 4 years where they do tournaments. But all the international friendlies and all the international breaks should just not be happening, in my opinion. I'll give you one last thing in the defence of international breaks. It may actually pay dividends for City specifically because we've got all these injuries building up. It's one extra week of Laporte injury time that we don't have to worry about. Because imagine if we had a fixture on Saturday, and in 6 weeks' time, let's say that Laporte's injury takes 6 weeks to recover. 1 week of that recovery time is taken care of by an international break. So there's a potential benefit there. John Stones, as far as I know, is not as fit as he could be. Maybe this international break period gives him time to recover for the next league fixture against Norwich in a fortnight's time. Mm-hmm. So there are potentials there that it's beneficial. But if we didn't have the injuries, then obviously there wouldn't be those benefits. That's the only benefit I can possibly think of. And I'm stretching there when I say that. Martin?
Well, like I said, I don't think there is a benefit in any way. And the scary thing is, when did the transfer window close? Was it 2 days ago? And I'm talking about not hours. I know I was finished.
Monday.
Monday. So in all their wisdom, like you just said, they've had a summer of tournament football, Copa America, and the African nations and all things like that. Then come back to start a season. At the time, still sign players with injuries. Now, they're all going to stop. Now, and we're off again. They're all off to go and play for their international countries where injuries can happen. They come back and you can't replace them anyway because, so for example, Kyle Walker, very glad he's not gone away. Say they'd gone away, pulled his hamstring and he's out for 3, 4, 5 weeks,
There's this thing.
Not even with Sitter.
This goes on to a wider issue, really, because are we only saying this because we're fans of top league clubs that it directly affects the players of? Now, let's, for example, say, I'm just picking this at random and I'm not picking on Charlton fans, but let's say that you're a Charlton fan. Domestically, you're not going to win much, if anything at all. But you can look at your national team and celebrate their successes, if you had any successes. And then the other thing that I could say, so are we specifically in this position because we're a top team and we're only focusing on we're being selfish and only focusing on our players? That's one side of it. The other side of it, on the bigger picture, transfer deadlines. Now, there used to be these rules in place which are still in place, and I thought they were the only rules we ever needed. And those rules were, you can sign a player whenever, but if they've already played in the same domestic competition or same European competition for another team in that season, they can't then feature for you. I thought that was the only transfer rule we ever needed. I thought it was a perfect rule. Because imagine halfway through the season, Mbappe scored 500 goals for fucking PSG and we throw in a £300 million bid for him, but he's already played in the Champions League for PSG. That's the thing that's going to stop that transfer. Mm-hmm. Not there being this fucking arbitrary, stupid window. The window in the first place is dumb because theoretically, if any of our players were dumb enough to want to go and play for a European club instead of staying in the best league in the world, then, those clubs abroad can still take our players beyond the window of we can replace them. So that's ridiculous. I just think there's all sorts of stupid things going on in football these days.
I also think you won't get these stupid fees as well. Because the transfer window
fees are a direct result of a transfer window.
The transfer window's done, they basically give teams, you've got 8 weeks to get your players in, and this is another thing that baffles me, and everybody does it. Everybody does it. Even we got guilty of it before in the past. Is everyone leaves the business until the last four days or transfer deadline day. And yeah, it's exciting for TV and everything else, but it's a load of bullshit. And the simple fact is, why on earth? Because you go to a team, you've been after this player all summer, and they keep telling you 30, 40, 50 million. And transfer deadline comes, and it's now beneficial for the selling club than it is for the buying club. Because the selling club just hold out and hold out and hold out because they know there's only a certain period of time that you can do it.
Now,
They're
I
going to end up
argued.
getting the money they want.
I argued in the summer that City had a poor transfer window because
I'd
last
agree.
season, if you observe Manchester City, you would say straight away, we need a new left back because Mendy's not done it again, and he's still not doing it again, right? Maybe that some people will think I'm being unfair on Mendy, but I'm sorry, 2.5 seasons now injured. If you look at it, we needed a replacement for Company because fuck me, the Company one didn't surprise anybody that he'd be leaving, retiring, or stepping down, or reducing his role significantly. So we needed a centre half. And we needed a Fernandinho replacement. So why? And we've needed a Fernandinho replacement not because he's got worse as a player. If anything, he's as good as he ever was, but because of his age. And we've known that he's going to be 35, 34, 35 now. We knew that fucking 3 seasons ago. Why on the first day of the fucking transfer window when it opened did we not go right? Here's our replacement. Here's our replacement. Here's our replacement. Why was the Cancelo thing done at the last fucking minute? A player that we didn't necessarily even need. Why did it take more than 1 day to get Rodri on fucking board? Why did we not sign a centre half in the summer? Look, for all the good that our clubs does, this is me nitpicking now because we've won more trophies than I've ever seen, or most people have ever seen in their entire lifetime as a Manchester City fan. But these things to me, I can't be alone in this. These things to me just seem, why are we operating like this? Why the second that window opened did we not go bang, bang, bang transfer? I don't get it.
Because of the financial end of year.
Why is that not in line? Why is that not in line with the footballing calendar and the footballing transfer windows? Am I the only person to see that one as well? You say because of the end of the financial year, but why are these things not in line with the transfer window? Is it fucking dumb?
No, yeah, because the transfer window opens when? Is it the middle of May?
No, 1st of July, I think.
1st of July. 1st of July.
No, I mean now. I know it officially opens in May now, isn't it? It finishes opens like the middle of May, end of May now. The official for us to buy. You can negotiate. I don't think you can buy in England until July, but you can go abroad and buy someone in May. But what happens is it goes under your previous year's financial books.
Okay.
If you buy a player after the
I
first
get that, Martin. I get that, Martin. But why are they not? I get all of that, Martin. But why are those things not brought in line with the transfer window itself?
Well, I think that's why they're trying to renegotiate everything, aren't they now?
And what about my other point as well about the fact that transfers used to be dictated by whether a player could appear for you or not in a certain competition, opposed to there being an arbitrary window that, as you've stated yourself, has cost us an increased transfer sum for any player ever. Don't matter what the fucking club, a player is now worth 10 times the amount they should be because of the fucking enforced urgency of a transfer.
Yeah.
The whole system seems ridiculous now.
But how did they not bring the windows in to stop clubs spending all this money at certain points of the season?
What, like FFP was brought in to stop Bury and Bolton going out of business?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not worked. Exactly, it's not worked. It's just inflated. Yeah, it's inflated transfer prices. People are going for ridiculous amounts of money. And like you say, it is exciting for TV and stuff, but...
Well, I think you've just hit the nail on the head there, really, haven't you? It's exciting for TV. At the end of the day, that's the only thing that fucking matters. Football doesn't matter anymore. The fans of football don't matter anymore. It is all about what fucking makes the money for the TV revenue.
Which is exactly why the World Cup is in Qatar.
Yeah, well, I'll be boycotting the Qatar World Cup for 2 reasons. One, because that is genuinely where you should be looking for human rights abuses, and my team Scotland have got not got a hope in hell. Even if we did qualify for the World Cup, our players would literally die in that heat, so it's pointless.
Yeah,
I can really genuinely see a team winning that World Cup from Africa, and that's not because they're actually better than anyone else in the world. Sure, they've got some decent teams, but they are way more acclimatized. Or a team from the Middle East or an Asian team. A European team, if they win that World Cup, then I will genuinely stand up and applaud them.
I think going back, like I said, with the international football, I tell you where I enjoyed international football, and it was one of the only times I did enjoy it, was when they took England on the road show around the country. Then I enjoyed it a little bit more, and not because because I'm English born and bred and I love England, but I'm not an England fan football wise. I enjoyed it at the World Cup. I enjoyed it at the Euros. But you know,
What year was this, Martin?
What when I was an England fan, or when it was going down the country.
I'm talking Euro '96.
Yeah, so Euro '96. That was fun because it was in England as well. And
yeah, but a global or a European competition shouldn't have to be in your country for you to enjoy it.
No, it shouldn't. Exactly. That's just. I think we all got caught up in the fever. It's like the Olympics, for example. People got more excited for the Olympics when it was in our own country.
What, when they spent even more money on London?
Yeah, exactly. But that would come back to my exact point now. London. Everything is in London. And that is why people, especially in the north, they don't want to be going all the way down to London. So, no, can you imagine it like on a Wednesday night? England could be playing Germany, could be playing Spain, could be playing anyone on a Wednesday night. You are not going to get anyone north of Birmingham, maybe even not that far, going to the game. They
still fill the stadium for that, though. I mean, we're not talking here about the fact that why is the stadium in London because it's only 1/3 full when they play Germany. They still fill the stadium near as damn it. You know, maybe there's a few thousand missing. But yeah, I totally understand with you. A national stadium, in my opinion. I mean, like I said, I've no vested interest in this. But if I lived in Scotland right now and they put the fucking national stadium on the Isle of Skye, I might be a bit pissed off. But, you know, I can understand why an England fan would want it more central.
Do Spain have a set stadium?
Oh, I think they tour around.
Well, yeah, but there's more lore and prestige for Wembley, isn't it? It's the home of. I mean, even as an outsider,
I can. There's more depth.
Okay. Yeah, you're being cynical about it, though, no. But there is more lore and more prestige and more history to Wembley than there is any other stadium on the planet. So, even as an outsider looking in, mine, I can see that myself. But yeah, when they knocked it down in 2007 or whatever it was, maybe they should have considered moving it more central. Well, but that's just a different rant entirely. So what I want to talk about now is, so I've argued that we've had a bad transfer window. Now I couldn't have predicted the injuries we've had so far this season. So I'm going to go through the list of injuries, and you can fill me in if I've missed an injury here. I'm going to start first with Benjamin Mendy. Is it too late to stick or twist on him? Are we going to get a penny for him if we sell him at this point, or should we still stick with him?
I know he's not played much last 2 seasons. When he did play, he looked all right. But the thing with injuries is, once you get injured, are you going to come back and be the same level again? So he needs to get a run in the team and then take it from there. Because so far, I know Zinchenko's not a left back, but to be fair, he's filling in not too bad.
There's much worse. Martin, I know you're not a fan of Zinchenko, but there is worse out there. Martin, tell me about Fabian Delph. Tell me about Fabian Delph. Martin, tell me about Benjamin Mendy.
He's a great Everton player. Benjamin Mendy, I would stick with him for now. I would give him one last go and just see if we can get a consistent run of games out of him. I think if he breaks down again, then I think that is it. I think that's completely it. But
30 games, all right. That's 30 games. A consistent run of games has to be in the next 30, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I mean. I think because I think he is still the best left back in the club we have, especially going forward. I think he's the best passer at left back we have. Yes, I'm not saying Zinchenko is a bad footballer. Zinchenko, like we've said before, is a central midfielder playing left back, very much like Fabian Delph. And maybe it is a little bit harsh to criticise him in terms of he's not a very good left back. My problem is with Zinchenko. He does the basic things wrong at times. That's my issue with his passing, with his decision making. That's my issue with Zinchenko.
By the way, so does Kyle Walker, by the way. So does Kyle Walker, by the way. Kyle Walker has as many brain farts as Zinchenko, and Kyle Walker is a right back.
See, I think Kyle Walker started the season like an house on fire, but I think he has to because he's now got big competition behind him.
Apart from the Bournemouth game where that wasn't necessarily his fault, the fact that Gundogan was in DM totally fucking threw our game off.
But Mendy, I would give one more go just to see. Because I think he does deserve it. Some people will disagree with that. And B, I don't think the board are now willing to spend the money that they used to do anymore, from what I've heard.
I don't think it's necessarily a case of not spending money. I think they still will spend the money. I just think that it's got to be more selective. I think Pep's been given more than enough players to do something with, regardless.
Yes.
So if that means that we need a Mendy replacement, I think the board will still give him the money for a Mendy replacement, just as I think the board will still give him the money for an Aguero replacement when the time comes. It's just I don't think they're willing to make any auxiliary spends, like, say, for example, the Angelino spend and stuff like that. I don't think they'll be as prepared to do that sort of spending in the future without the promise of a return on the investment. So, okay, the next player that I want to talk about injury-wise is Laporte. Nobody still has any idea how long the kid's going to be out for. It could be 6 weeks, could be 6 months, could be the season, in reality. We didn't sign a new centre-half. Oh, sorry. Rewind, re-fucking wind. Let's say Benjamin Mendy does come back and he plays a game or two and then he completely breaks down again. Who in January do we sign to replace Benjamin Mendy? Or will Pep just stick with Zinchenko and Angelino?
I have no idea because I don't know who's out there for left backs right now. I couldn't tell you.
I think Ben Chilwell's your only option at left back, but I don't think they'll spend that. Because, like I said, I think they'll stick
70 million if they wanted Chilwell. They're not going to spend 70 million on Chilwell, and that's what it's going to cost you. Van Arnold was the only one I could think of.
Yeah, I think he's too old, but I think you're going in the wrong direction with that.
That means he'd cost 30 million instead of fucking 70 million.
Yeah. But like we said, I don't think the board would be willing to pay that on a nearly 30-year-old, if not 30, because they weren't willing to pay the money out for a replacement of company.
All right, so talking more centrally then, our next big injury at the club, as we know in the last week, has been Aymeric Laporte. He could be out for 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, or even a year. Nobody knows truly at the minute. What do we do about that situation? Is it a case of just whacking Fernandinho in there and hoping for the best? Is it a case of bringing Kyle Walker in from the right back position as a centre half and playing him with Otamendi and keeping fingers crossed? John Stones has not got the greatest injury record and has already had a couple of niggles so far this season. What's going to happen at that position? And how long do you actually think? I mean, put your hands on your crystal ball and tell me how long Laporte's going to be out for as well.
Well, it looked like a bad injury, so... And I'm kind of surprised that it's taken this long to figure out how long he's going to be out for, because usually club doctors and hospitals will tell you straight away how bad the injury is. But I know it was only Brighton, but I didn't think Fernandinho played that badly when he came on. A couple of times, maybe positionally, he wasn't in the best place, but that's going to come down to him playing regular games in that position, and then he's going to have a defensive partner with him who's going to be reliable as well.
It was always my thought in the summertime that Fernandinho would be the backup at centre-half. Always my thought. I thought that Rodri was going to play, and Rodri's pretty much going to have to play now. Unfortunately, Pep thinks that he can play that in rotation with Gundogan occasionally. The DM role. And I think that Fernandinho is just going to be the only go-to centre-half.
Yeah, but did you think he was just going to come off the bench and play the odd 20 minutes here and there? Or, like, he's going to have to now... He's going to have to now play. That's the point I'm making. I thought he was going to only have to play the odd 20 minutes here and there, but now he's actually just going to have to step up and be a centre half. Exactly. He's going to have to play however many competitions is going to be. If it could be the FA Cup next year as well, he might have to play centre.
Yeah, true. Martin?
I'm worried at centre back, and I'll tell you why. Yes, on Saturday we won 4-0. People look at the result and they think, great, it was a great, and everyone thinks we did play, and we did play some good football. We also gave up a lot of chances to Brighton, and Edison got us out the shit once or twice. If that had been a Liverpool, that would have been another top team in the league. I think we'd have probably conceded maybe 1 or 2 goals. I think you're looking at a totally different game. Fernandinho did excellent when he came on, but knowing our luck, Rodri will get injured in the next few weeks, and we'll have to stick Fernandinho back into CDM.
Oh, because Pep played Gundogan, and our season will be totally over.
Yeah, this is my worry. Knowing our luck, I mean, Pep's come out and said from interviews that it's been done, and I wouldn't be surprised if we go with a 3 at the back and he moves Walker into a back three. But I think we're going to have to end up, promoting Eric Garcia maybe, or is it Howard Bellis? Bellis Howard?
Yeah, Howard Bellis. You do realise the problem with playing three at the back? That actually means that we play more cards than we necessarily need to. Because if you think about it, if we play Walker, Stones and Otamendi at the three at the back, like you're suggesting, that's all our potential centre-halves playing in one game minus Fernandinho. Or if you play Walker, Fernandinho, Otamendi, Walker, Fernandinho, Stones, any of those combinations, you're actually playing a one extra player than you'd need to play if we only had two centre-halves anyway. So I think the only resolution to this is, in fact, to promote a Garcia and just stick with a four at the back, because that means that you're not having to place it. Because imagine if another centre-half gets injured, then we can't play three at the back anyway.
Yes, but like I said, knowing our luck, you'll probably get, Rodri getting injured in the next few weeks because he's into a brand new league. It's a lot quicker than what probably expected. His body's not going to be able to go at 60-odd games at this pace forever. Fernandinho will have to. I've no doubt Rodri, I'm hoping he doesn't, but I've no doubt Rodri's going to get injured at some point. And Fernandinho, you're going to have to roll back in, because I don't trust Gundogan at CDM. I just don't. I don't trust Stones there. I don't trust anybody there but Fernandinho.
Do you remember that one half of a game when Stones did play at CDM? He was like a fucking headless chicken. So
it looked like Bambi on ice. It just it looks, and at the moment, I'm just a bit worried we're going to end up trying to put, square pegs in round holes now. And
I mean, if we get another injury, which, let's face it, we're fucking four weeks into a season and we've had 3 major injuries already.
Yeah. We're 4 weeks in and we are one injury away from a complete and utter nightmare situation.
We're one or two injuries away from fucking looking like we might get lucky if we get Europa League place, and I'm not overstating that.
No, and this, but the worrying thing is, Pep, I'm not sure people have heard it, they've seen it. Pep came out with a quote, we went after Maguire. I think that's well known. We went after Maguire. The board would not sanction the money. And Pep's come out in the last few days and said that the board will not sanction the money anymore. They wouldn't buy him a centre-back. Funnily enough, they went and bought him a right-back. Did we need the right-back more than we needed that centre-back?
No, but that depends on what the plans were, because maybe they came to an agreement that we signed Cancelo for 28 million net, as it worked out. That means then you've got two. That means then that you've got 2 bonus centre halves out of that deal, because Walker can play centre half and Fernandinho can play centre half. Personally, I would have rather have kept Danilo and still been able to have Fernandinho and Walker at centre half. But that's just the way things go. The jury's going to be out on Cancelo for a while. Cancelo needs a season to bed in, but this isn't the fucking ideal season for him to bed in, given the injuries we've got already. So the last major injury, unless, Willie, you want to say anything about that sort of defensive area of the pitch? Last major injury is Leroy Sané. I will add a little footnote of John Stones has already had some niggles this season, so that fucking scares the shit out of me. Gabriel's had a little niggle. But yeah, the last major injury, as we all know, happened in the Community Shield, and that was Leroy Sané. Now, a player that, if certain journalists are to believe, would have been out the door this summer if his wage demands were met. I personally don't believe that, but maybe that's just me being narrow-minded and wearing rose-tinted glasses. I think that maybe his agents wanted to secure Leroy more money, but I think Leroy prefers playing top-class football. So Leroy's injured. That leaves us with Bernardo, Mahrez and Sterling. I think that we've already seen signs that Sterling is being fucking overburdened with the workload right now, because he didn't have the best game against Brighton, let's be honest. It might have just been a bad day at the office, but it might have been what I think it is, which is being overburdened with unnecessary workload, because he's pretty much fucking undroppable because Sané is not in the picture. How long's Sané out for? How long's a piece of string?
I think we'll be lucky if we see Sané again before Easter. Maybe after Easter we'll see him. And right now, if you want my honest opinion, because I am one of these fans who does think if he was fit, I think he'd have been gone by now.
Okay.
The only thing that worries me is you leave it till Easter, you're looking at another year, you are going into his final year with no contract signed. His value was going to drop.
Is Sané going to come back the same player? There's so many times when players have come back from injuries, not the same player. I think one of the shining examples of that is Ilkay Gundogan. I mean, When Ilkay Gundogan first came to City, I thought he was fucking silky ilky, literally what people say he is. He was fantastic, Gundogan, when he first came to City. Then he got that horrendous injury, and to me, he's never been the same since. He's always looked one step off the game pace, maybe because he's frightened of getting an injury again. So look at any of our injuries. You know, is Laporte? I mean, Laporte, when he first came to the club, I couldn't say enough good things about him. Will he come back the same player? Will Mendy ever come back the same player? I think Mendy's going to be 2 gears slower than he ever was when he gets back from injury. And part of that is going to be because his physical limitations of his body, and the fact that he'll always have in his fucking mind, am I going to snap again? Am I going to snap again? Am I going to snap again?
Yeah.
So we've absolutely no idea whether Leroy's even going to come back the same player. Now, for me, Leroy Sané on his day was fucking a world beater. He was absolutely incredible when he was going forward and fucking terrorising defences. But he's an absolute unknown quantity now when he does come back. Let's say that it is Easter. You're probably right with him coming back at around Easter. Now, there's one last thing that I'll say about all of these injuries. It could actually work in our favour. If we can fucking hold down the fort until Christmas, maybe fuck off the cups, maybe fuck off the FA Cup, and maybe fuck off the Carabao Cup, which I don't want to do that. I don't want to be as disrespectful as, you know, the Liverpool manager who fucks off those cups instantaneously to focus on a European Carabao Cup. I like those domestic trophies, but if those domestic trophies after be the victim of us actually keeping in the Premier League race, then so be it this season. But if we can actually hold down the fort till Christmas or just after Christmas and still stay in that title race, then those players returning from injury by then could be, all fingers crossed, and in the best case scenario, the best thing to happen. Because was it 2 seasons ago when we ended up with Liverpool in the Champions League? We'd put so much into like the first 6 months of the Premier League. We'd done more than we needed to do, really. There were times in that first half of the Premier League season when we could have let the foot off the gas, but we didn't. I don't know whether that was purely psychological, and I don't know whether that was because we were just out to prove that we were fucking the best of the best of the best. But there were times in that first half of the Premier League season when we could have let the foot off the gas and still won the league at a counter. And we paid for that. We paid for that massively when we came up against Liverpool in the Champions League in the January, and they fucked us because we were so fucking exhausted. So maybe having 2, 3, 4 returning players in that January period, if everything goes as well as it possibly can do, maybe that'll fucking pay off for us. But it all depends on whether we can fucking stay in the fight until that January period without those players. What do you guys think?
Then the flip of the coin is last few years around Christmas time, we were always ending up with some bad injuries. Like, was it Jesus last year? De Bruyne last year as well around Christmas time. It's all about how, if the players who are fit just now, if they can stay fit and then carry on. But as you say, 1 or 2 injuries to certain key players, and then we're kind of in the shit again, try to jiggle about people playing the wrong position.
Well, I mean, if you believe what everyone reads and says, you know, we've actually got the best and deepest squad going. And I think what this is showing lately is our squad is not as deep as what some people think and say it is. It really isn't.
In certain areas, it absolutely is. Our midfield, any of our midfield 6 or 7 players, in my opinion, would get into any other midfield in the world.
Yes, yeah.
But our defence, beyond our first 4 choice defenders, no. Our attack, if Jesus or Aguero gets injured, fuck me, Nemecha? Are we relying on Nemecha to win us the Premier League?
If you look, midfield is the place where we are stocked, and we're stacked, and we've got backup, which will walk into any team in the league, you know, straight away. But up front and defence, we are not as well stacked as what we like to think we are. We're just simply not. You know, I mean, midfield we have. You know, De Bruyne was out for a lot of last season, and we coped without him. You know, we did cope because we've got
beyond Benjamin Mendy. That was the one significant injury. Yes, there was the Gabby injury at the Christmas, but we had fucking Aguero. Beyond Mendy, De Bruyne last season was the one significant injury, and that was Pep's biggest test. But I fucking guarantee you, Pep Guardiola this season has got a fucking even bigger headache than the last 2 seasons. Yeah. Even bigger headache than the last 2 seasons.
Well, I'm telling you now, you know,
if we still win the league this season, and one other competition, all of the fucking doubters have to be fucking silenced, because there's, believe it or not, even though we've won back-to-back domestic titles and God knows how many other trophies, there are still doubters of Pep Guardiola. But if Pep Guardiola does this season with fucking 16 fucking players, which is looking like he's going to have to, all of those doubters have got to fucking eat their own words at that point.
Yes. Yeah, of course they have. I think if we win the league and another, I think this would be, right now, Pep's greatest achievement. You know, for the simple fact is, you know, right now he's playing, and this sounds so condescending and so not right coming from a City fan right now, is he's playing with one arm tied behind his back right now.
Yeah, absolutely he is.
You know,
absolutely.
And people will think that is, like I said, they'll think that is such a bad comment to make. But I'm talking about, you know, Aguero does not go a season without being injured at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And when Aguero gets injured, he's not out for a week or two. He's generally out for 4 or 5 weeks if Aguero gets injured. So you know, and Gabby's not 100% fit still, but we are putting Sterling through the middle. That is where we're at. We're having to go with the false 9. And I'm not saying Sterling can't play that role. He's more than adequate enough to play that role. But, you know, once you hit January, February, and you're hitting the Champions League knockout stages, I'm sorry, but if we get a Barcelona, a Real Madrid, or even a Liverpool, I'm not fully confident going with that team right now as it stands. With the injuries that we have, I'm not confident.
I mean, were you confident last season without De Bruyne going into a bunch of fixtures? We still managed it, but that was only one player missing. I'm totally with you, man. I'm totally with you.
But again,
I don't want to go into any game without Laporte. Like, if John Stones was missing, for as much as I love John Stones, and I think John Stones is a fantastic player, if John Stones was missing, I could deal with it. But Laporte, it's a whole different ballgame.
I think John Stones, and this will be something that some people have heard from other fans say. I also will know where this will upset other fans. I think Stones has been badly mismanaged at the moment by Pep, and I do not criticise Pep for anything. That was the one thing I think he has done poorly. I think Stones has been mismanaged, and I think the one thing, if you have got one criticism of Pep, is he sometimes mismanages players wrongly.
I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. I'm not all hail Pep. Don't get me wrong. I'm not all hail Pep, because I'm very critical of Ilkay Gundogan and Pep's fucking constant need to include him. But I don't know about that one, man. You're gonna have to defend yourself on that one.
Oh, will do. But you look at John Stones. John Stones could have 3, 4, 5 games. He's having a blinder, and then he's suddenly out the team, and you don't see him again for another 5, 6, 7 games.
Well, and the only instance, I mean, you're gonna have to refresh me here, but the only instance I can think of that is when 2017-18 season, John Stones was the best player in the team, full stop, and then he got injured.
Yes,
that's the only time I can remember him being out of the squad for any length. Towards the end of last season, he was rightfully, in my opinion, ousted from the team, because let's get the fucking most out of Kompany while we fucking can. Nobody expected Kompany to play 14 games. Everyone expected Kompany to break down after 4, 5, 6 games, and John Stones was waiting to get back in the team. So that one, in my opinion, was just a freakish one-off. The fact that Kompany didn't fucking break down again.
Yes, yeah, but I also think, and again, this is not going to be a popular opinion, and I know Kompany was Mr. Man City. I understand, and what he did for them last 14 games was absolutely legendary, and it was something nobody at all would even think was going to happen. Going 14 games, not injured. You know, he wasn't even coming off. He was going 90 minutes nearly every week, and he was managing it well. But Kompany was going. I think we knew by then, Paul Pep knew by then, Kompany was gone. You know, Stones was your future. You know, he does a little bit, and again, I am not.
Maybe sentimentality crept in, or maybe the fact that let's just face facts. Kompany on his day is a better centre half than John Stones.
Yes, no, but I would accept that. But here's another example for you. I think I set off at the start of the season thinking David Silva would not play as much as what he has so far.
Me too. I thought that fucking Foden would actually be the name on either Bernardo Silva or Foden would be the name on the season, or knowing Pep as a no Pep, he'd fucking throw Gundogan in there and really fucking wind me up, even though that is actually Gundogan's natural position and he's good at playing that position. But no, he's stuck with fucking David Silva. Not that I don't want him to stick with. Fuck me, if I can have a 21-year-old David Silva now, and let's not be wrong, David Silva has actually been fucking amazing again this season.
Mhm.
But I really did think that they would be fucking. I thought as long as De Bruyne's fit, De Bruyne gets De Bruyne's spot. As long as Sterling's fit, Sterling gets Sterling's spot. But I honest to God thought that there would be fucking massive rotation in that midfield three.
Yeah.
In the Rodri spot and in the fucking David Silva spot, and it's not happened so far. Maybe it will happen at some point. Maybe David Silva will break down. I don't fucking know. But the guy, he's undroppable now. And to me, that's another fucking 6 months or even a year of Phil Foden fucking warming that bench.
Exactly.
And no wonder other teams are sniffing round him.
And that's my whole point now. So you've got Foden, who is now going to stagnate for the next 6, 7, 8, 9 months. He's going to play the odd game. He's going to play the cup games. Fine. Once Silva's out the door, we're all saying as fans, Phil Foden is David Silva's replacement. At this stage right now, Phil Foden is not going to be ready enough or played enough games.
He was fucking ready when he played against Tottenham last season in the league, and then he got dropped again. So, all right, I don't want to go on about this too much because this is international breakup and it's a fucking one-off. If the fans like it, we might do a few more of them. But have you got any final thoughts, Willie?
About international football?
No. The show's just called International Breakup. Any final thoughts about City's play? Am I fucking a drama queen for thinking that we'll be lucky to get a Europa League spot if we're carrying on with these fucking injuries? Has Pep made some bad decisions? Has Cheeky made some bad decisions? Are the club falling apart? Are United going to fucking win the league? Are Chelsea going to fucking knock us out of the Champions League spots? Are Aston Villa going to fucking batter us 17-0 on aggregate this season? Are Leicester going to win the league again because they found Jamie Vardy's doping meds again? I mean, tell me.
I don't think it'll be as bad as Europa League, but I just think if we keep either getting screwed over by VAR or we keep having injuries and having to put...
Not even mention fucking VAR until now. Thanks for ruining my evening.
Well, I'm just saying there's all these variables that could happen over the course of the season, but I don't think it will be as bad as Europa League. Yes, injuries do play a part and all that bollocks, but I think just City the last few years I've been unlucky. But like you say, I think this.
You know what it reminds me of. Sorry to interrupt you, but what it reminds me of when Mancini won the league, we did not fucking strengthen the next season. When Pellegrini won the league, we did not strengthen the next season. We stagnated. Now, this season, even though we've addressed one area that was absolute necessity, which is Rodri for Fernandinho, I think we've stagnated in other fucking areas. And we've actually, we went into the season under strength, even before Leroy got injured.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Oh, no, it definitely wasn't a good transfer window for City. I would 100% agree with that.
Is that just us throwing the toys out the pram because we're the fucking billionaire playboys who spend all the money? Or is that, we could have done some shrewd, smart business. I think, personally, Laporte will go down in history as one of the biggest, best pieces of transfer business ever. And maybe in January, there'll be a fucking other Laporte out there to solve all our problems. Highly unlikely, but it's a possibility. So go on, finish off, Willie.
I lost my train of thought.
That's all right. Ole's at the wheel. Don't worry. He'll get you back on track soon. Martin, your last thought, Paul.
I tell you what, it does sound like that we're being petulant children and throwing toys out of prams there. And I fully appreciate anybody who might listen to this and think, boy, a Man City fan selfish, and are they spoiled? And no, it's not being spoiled. I think what we're looking at here is the long-term project that is in place. And I think, right, and you have rightfully said it, Rob, good teams can see what's going to happen before it happens, if that makes sense. And right now, we can all see things need replacing. We can see, I've said this before, Aguero is not going to go on forever. I think he's, 31 now? This is David's last season.
In certain areas, we're a victim of our own success. Like I gave the example before of Company having that 14-game run. I'll give the example of Aguero actually fucking doubling down and fucking becoming a Pep player. David Silva having 10 wonderful seasons in a City shirt. No other team has been able to do this consistently with other players since probably Man United, with players like Paul Scholes. I mean, fuck me. If Paul Scholes didn't exist at United, how many fucking midfielders would they have gone through in 2 decades? How many? They would have spent fucking $3 billion trying to replace Paul Scholes if he didn't have the longevity he had.
Well, he'd come back out of retirement, didn't he?
So we're a victim of our own success in certain areas of the pitch, but to not address the Company one, oh my goodness.
And nobody can tell me that they only found out about Company last minute. I think Company, I mean, it's come out since. They knew back in March, April time, Company was gone. I think they knew it was nailed on, it was done. I think by then they should have been looking, but I think they put all their focus on Rodri and all their focus on a CDM, which is right. You know, it had to be done. But what we've done is now.
On paper at the time, it was the right thing to do because we still had three and a half centre halves. On paper at the time, it was the right thing to do. Fuck me. We are the club of injuries. I mean, no other club has done domestically what we've done while having an injury to a key player. No other club. Barcelona without Messi or Biscuits or Piqué or you got a Real Madrid or anyone like that. When Ronaldo ever got injured or if he ever got injured. Liverpool, if any Liverpool's front three got injured, they'd be fucking 10th spot in the Premier League. No other team has gone on to do what we've done while still having consistent injuries to massive players. So our board should have known, right? Unfortunately, we're fucking hexed here. We need to get a fucking replacement in every part of the field. Didn't happen, right? So I'm gonna end it there, unless you desperately need to say one more thing. All right. Well, cheers for joining me, guys, and thanks for listening, everybody. Catch you on the next one, if there is a next one, which there will be, because I'm sure we'll fucking whine about VAR at some point. I'm sure we'll whine about the next international break at some point, and I'm pretty sure that City's going to get another key injury to a key player. Which player do you reckon it's going to be? Which player do you reckon is going to get injured next? Just we'll have a little bit of a lottery.
Sweepstake.
Yeah, we'll have a sweepstake. Which player is going to get another big injury for City before the season's over?
Aguero.
I don't want to see it, but Kev.
That's what my money's on. My money's on Kevin De Bruyne getting absolutely crippled at some point, probably away from home at Preston. Anyway, cheers guys for listening. We'll try and be more optimistic on the next one, but it's hard to be optimistic when VAR and injuries exist. Thank you and goodbye.